What are the best jobs for introverts? Data entry. I did typing for teller verification for a bank. The office was in a simple building by the airport, no customers or anything. Maybe 10 to 12 people in the room. We could listen to music or whatever in headphones. Loved it. Animals are my passion, so I enjoyed working at a shelter. Dogs don't judge you for dropping that pen, and cats want nothing more than decent chin scratches. So much less stressful than interacting with people. The most relaxing job I've had is janitor at a thrift store. I just showed up, did the tasks on the checklist, and left. Never had to talk to anyone. I also liked it because I got to be on my feet. I don't care for sitting at a desk all day. Food delivery, or almost any kind of career job. The interactions you have with people are barely interactions at all. You rarely have to have any kind of conversation, and people are usually happy to see you. Just say the order and leave. What restores your faith in humanity? The little commonalities connecting everyone. More specifically, when people post memes and jokes about little life things, such as saying cows every time you pass a field of cows on a drive, the urge to slap a bag of rice at a supermarket, turning drives in the rain into an imaginary melodramatic music video, and so on. It's nice to remember that despite being so different, we also have so much in common that we can laugh about. That always restores my faith in humanity. This is silly, but when I was younger, my mother sent me to the store to buy a box of cake mix, some decorations, and candles for my birthday party. They cost more than I had on me, so I told the woman at the register, and she removed some of the items. However, while I wasn't looking, she put the groceries I took off back in the bags. I didn't realize until I got home, and it never fails to make me smile because it was such a nice thing to do. What is something you lost as you got older? Nervousness. I stopped caring about failing and stopped worrying that things wouldn't work out. I have no idea why this happened. Maybe I failed enough to finally understand that it wasn't the end of the world. I'm glad, because the fear of failure is crippling. Holidays like Christmas. It used to be the highlight of my year as a kid. 2 weeks off school, seeing family, getting presents, fun music and movies, the thrill of waking up in the morning. It was truly special. Now these holidays are just another day that fly by. I spent years trying to recreate that feeling and still listen to some music, but it's gone. Maybe the only way to recreate that joy is to have kids of your own. Willingness to try dating. It can be unsafe. You can be tricked. It can be a waste of time. Even after all that, it can still end badly. I can put all that time and effort into hobbies and end up much happier. If something happens, it happens. What's the best feeling in the world? When a sick animal comes in and you're able to take the pain and the fear away by treating them, the look of relief on their face is the greatest feeling. I've seen animals that were tense or lashing out at their owners from pain and confusion. The moment they're able to realize they're feeling better is something that words can't really describe. The satisfaction of happy owners also, who know their best friend is going through a lot of pain, and they see them get better. When all your classes are done and you don't have any exams, papers, or homework to worry about. It feels like all the possibilities in the world are open to you. But I also get the anxious feeling like I'm forgetting something, because surely there's some responsibility. As a kid, when my mom would quietly walk into the room and instead of waking me up, whisper that it snowed, school is closed, and I could back to sleep. That feeling of drifting back off and knowing a fun day of playing in the snow was perfection. What's something you accidentally learned from a video game? Typing. I never learned to type in school, but the computer version of the original Halo taught me to type while being shot at. Voice chat services were much rarer back then or cost money, so typing was all I had. I've noticed that I'm really good at reading maps compared to a lot of other adults, and I couldn't figure out why until recently. I think all the years of having to navigate gave me a really good ability to translate a map into the real world. That I'll never experience or see most of the world. I'll never go on an adventure. I'll never see all these neat places. Games like Uncharted and Skyrim make me realize how big the world is beyond my small reality. What's something you want people to know about yourself, but you can't tell anyone in real life? I saved people from having credit card info stolen by my coworker committing fraud. I ended up getting demoted because my manager was upset that I went to the security department instead of him because he would have gotten a reward. Whenever I tell this story, people tell me I should sue, but all of this was said in person or through company emails, which I don't have access to. I want people to tell me I did a good job without that advice. I couldn't afford a lawyer. I have an extremely crippling and paralyzing fear of death and the passage of time. I am not especially religious, but my brain can't cope with the concept that one day this all just ends. I'm here now, and then I'm gone forever. I don't know how to make peace with that. And I almost regret even typing it now because thinking about it to type it out is also anxiety-inducing. I hate seeing it talked about because it's hard to stop thinking about, but I get through it. What's the most common reason people dislike you? I'm not a fan of small talk, so I keep to myself. People dislike me for being cold and aloof. It's only worthwhile if you know the other person well, so you can talk about a mutual hobby or interest. I don't want to talk if I have nothing to say. I have resting angry face. I always look mean, so people take what I say or do the wrong way. So I try and compensate for it, which just creeps people out. And when I say nothing in response to damn what's wrong, no one believes me. These comments are making me laugh. Think about the people you dislike and why you dislike them. Is it because they're a bit too cold? No, it's stuff like they brag too much or they're inconsiderate. I think it's hard to recognize our own unlikable traits. Real-life friends of social media influencers, what's it like? I dated one. I remember a lot of getting ignored and only receiving gifts or acts of kindness when they could post about it. Asking me to go to nice places because they didn't drive, only to leave me on a bench while they took pictures. Pretty awful. She hasn't come to anything I've invited her to in 5 years because she only goes to events that further her business, as she says. Regularly says things like, "We're all using each other for something." Sometimes she texts me the same exact thing word for word over a couple of days, and it's obvious she just copy and pastes the same thing and sends it to all of us and then forgets who she has sent it to. She still reaches out to me multiple times a year and claims I'm one of her best friends, but it sure doesn't feel like it. I've told her as much, but she just says, "My business comes first, and if you can't accept that, then I guess you're not a real friend." What dark thoughts you keep to yourself every day? How do I escape this room or hide if a murderer was to walk in? I've done this since I was little, but after the Columbine attack, it was more of a regular thought. It's exciting to plan an escape route or how you would be ready to stop the attacker. I could chop off my fingers at any given moment and it would be as easy as cutting a carrot. If my brain weren't stopping me, I could quickly destroy my ability to do many things I love doing. Same with eyes. It's scary how easy things are to hurt. When driving, I always find myself wondering what it would be like to drive off the road, into a ditch, off a bridge, and so on. I think about how my vehicle would be destroyed, how myself or my passengers would be injured, my chances of surviving, all that. I adore my kids, but sometimes I wish I lived alone with no mess or clutter because I'm sick of cleaning up after them. I've always viewed the cost of children as trading away your personal freedom to some extent. The fact that I could, at any time for any reason, pack everything up and go anywhere without consequence was a valuable thing to me. I guess they're fun though, so I keep them around. What was the first thing you worked for to save up to buy? My very first car. It was in 1998. I was 19 years old. A 1987 Chevy Camaro. It needed some work, but I loved that car. My friends liked it as well. My sister's friends all told me it was garbage, but their parents bought them newer cars that they didn't appreciate. A hamster. Not just the hamster as those were cheap, but the cage, the plastic hamster ball thing, the bedding, the treats, all of it. I named him Sam. He lived to be almost 5 years old, and he was the best. My mom helped me plan out the food costs, and I made sure I had enough money saved up to be able to get him food for at least a whole year. My mom didn't think he'd stay alive longer than that. I worked 2 jobs and sold plasma while in college to take my old girlfriend and myself to Europe. Neither of us had ever really traveled before, and she was always worried she'd get stuck and never get a chance to see the world. After we broke up, for a while I felt like it was a waste of money, but she died recently and I found out she kept a box of mementos from our trip. In hindsight, the experience wasn't a waste, and I think that was the best money I ever spent.